All right, let's talk about leadership. What if being a manager isn't about being the toughest, most results-driven person in the room? What if it's really about becoming a true leader of people? Today, we're diving into a powerful philosophy from the book, There's More to Management Than a Big Desk, which is all about one manager's journey from one extreme to the other.
And really, it all boils down to this one simple but huge question. What truly makes a great leader? Is it about pushing your team for results at all costs, or is it about pulling people up and helping them grow? The story we're about to unpack gives a pretty powerful answer.
So to get started, let's meet our guy, Chuck Windmeyer. Chuck is brilliant. He's incredibly driven, and man, he gets results. But at his old company, Cintar Systems, he was what you'd call a classic human doing. His entire sense of self-worth was wrapped up in what he did, what he accomplished, not in who he was.
Now, Chuck's mindset was forged in this really tough results-only culture. The book puts it perfectly. He always saw people as a means to an end, his end, like tools for the trade. This way of thinking earned him a nickname, the Axe, because he saw people as just obstacles, and he used fear to just plow right through them to get what he wanted.
And this is where the real drama of the story kicks in. Chuck is leaving Cintar, where people are seen as instrumental. They're only valued for what they can do, and he's about to start a new job at a place called Maven Technologies, where people are considered primary. They're valued for who they are. And this one little shift is about to rock his entire world.
So Chuck shows up at Maven for his first day, and it is nothing like he expected. There's no urgent meeting, no stack of files, no immediate deadlines. Instead, there are balloons, coffee cake, and hours of get-to-know-you games. His results-first brain is, just completely short-circuiting.
And this is where we get the absolute bedrock principle of Maven, straight from the owner, Sid Goldberg. He tells Chuck the people are always greater than the positions. Intrinsic value trumps extrinsic ability. Now for Chuck, this is a totally radical idea. It means that who you are as a person, your inherent worth, is more important than your job title or how much you produce. Let's just quickly break that down because it's so important. Intrinsic value is the worth you have just because you're a human being, period. Extrinsic value, on the other hand, is all about what you do, your skills, your performance, your rank. And for his entire career, Chuck has only known a world that runs on extrinsic value. So how does Maven actually teach this pretty abstract new philosophy? Well, they don't hand you a dry textbook. They tell a story, a powerful parable about two ancient kings that makes these big leadership ideas really stick. The story contrasts two different leaders. You have King Saul, who's called the Achiever. He's insecure, totally self-reliant, and obsessed with competition, which just creates fear and jealousy around him. And then you have King David, the Receiver. He's humble, he's focused on serving others, and his leadership style creates synergy and actually empowers people. And this really boils down to two very different leadership styles. Saul represents the push leaders, the ones who lead at the expense of other people. David, he represents the pull leaders, those who lead at the expense of themselves, who are all about compassion and building other people up. And Maven's entire goal, it's to build a whole company of these pull leaders. Okay, that's a great philosophy, but how do you actually do it? How do you put it into practice every single day? Well, this is where Maven gets super practical. They have a 5-step method for living out this people-first or Davidic leadership. They call it the Maven Way, and these 5 actions are the heart of it. Recruit, train, deploy, monitor, and nurture. Let's dig into what each of these really means. First step, recruit. This isn't just about finding someone with a killer resume. At Maven, they look for behavior and character first. They want people who already get it, who are already wired to put people first. Skills can be taught, but character? That's a lot harder. Next up is training. Maven sees training as a direct investment in the person, not just in the company. And when you do that, it builds loyalty and a sense of dignity. The employee feels truly valued, and that creates a natural drive to want to pay that back. It's the total opposite of that sink or swim mentality, which just makes people anxious. Step 3 is deploy. Now this one's huge. It's about giving people a mission, not just a job description. The book says it beautifully. Purpose is the mother of devotion. When people feel like they're part of a real mission, they don't just do their job. They become deeply committed to it. Now, when you hear the word monitor, you might think micromanaging, right? But at Maven, it means the opposite. It's about creating ownership.
You help your team own their ideas and their roles. And hey, when mistakes happen, the goal isn't to punish and shame, it's to discipline in a way that teaches. And there's some really cool science that backs this up. A psychologist named Jonathan Friedman did this experiment with kids in a robot toy. When he used a severe threat to keep them from playing with it, it kind of worked in the short term. But when he used a mild threat, which basically invited the child to own the decision not to play, the effect was way more powerful long term. Fear gets you compliance, but ownership gets you commitment.
And finally, the fifth step, which really never ends, is nurture. This is the constant, ongoing process of bringing people along, creating a safe space for them to grow and even to fail. And this leads to such a profound idea. Great people aren't just out there waiting to be found, they are created through support and nurture.
So all of these steps, this whole new way of seeing the world, it all leads Chuck to this incredibly powerful revelation. And this final lesson, it goes way beyond management techniques. It gets to the very core of what it means to be human.
The book introduces us to a medical term called marasmus. It's a condition where infants, if they're not given enough physical touch, can literally wither away and die. It proves that connection isn't just a nice-to-have, it's a biological need, as essential as food or water.
And to really drive this point home, the story shifts to an intense, real-world tragedy, the Challenger disaster in 1986. We're taken into the final, terrifying moments of the 7 crew members on board that shuttle.
According to the transcripts from the recovery, the last words spoken on the Challenger's flight deck were, "Give me your hand." In that final, terrifying moment, when everything else was stripped away, the most fundamental human need wasn't for control or for answers, it was for connection, for touch. And this is the moment it all just clicks into place for Chuck. He realizes his old, hands-off, people-are-tools approach wasn't just bad management, it went against the most basic human need. He finally understands who he isn't, and more importantly, who he can choose to become.
So we'll leave you with the same question the book leaves us with. When you think about your own life, whether you're a manager, a parent, a teammate, a friend, what are you really building? Are you focused on building a bigger desk for yourself, getting more power and status? Or are you focused on building better people around you